Hello, everybody. I am Drew Duncan. Do not forget that Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube and Patreon by looking for Drew Duncan Radio. And do not forget that I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Simply take a device to play Drew Duncan on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Folks, I am super thrilled to introduce our next guest on the program. She is a New York Times contributor in the health section. She is also the owner of Full-Time Table Solutions, which primary focus is to help us eat healthier. Her name is Sophie Egan. She has several books out about eating healthier, including her latest edition, How to Be a Conscious Eater. Sophie, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome, Sophie. Obviously, we don't have a lot of time with you, and I want to get right down to it. One of the phrases in your book that really jumped out to me was, if you can afford it. I think right now, Americans, maybe even the world, perhaps is more so in a state of survival mode than ever. Healthy solutions for those on an extreme budget, Sophie.
Yes. I couldn't agree more that the book, of course, was written pre-coronavirus, but that is budget-conscious ways to eat in, as I say, in ways that are good for us, good for others, and the planet are not only possible, but often go hand in hand. In fact, yes, sometimes we have to face the trade-offs of organic being maybe more expensive or local sometimes feeling like it's a premium product, but often actually eating in ways that are best for us and others are also good for our pocketbooks or for our budget. And I'll give you some examples. One, on the produce section, often what's in season is actually going to be more affordable. If you want to enjoy lots and lots of produce, which is important, especially now for boosting our immune systems with what I call corona conscious eating, produce is super important, a wide variety of colors and types. Frozen is a great approach. So is dried. Those can be, frozen in particular, can be a really affordable option versus fresh. Another really good go-to rule of thumb is to buy from the bulk section. You're avoiding waste in the process, but it's also a great way to economize, and especially now with pantries, it can last a bit longer. And then the other thing I'll mention is just to not waste the food that you do bring home. So in terms of budget, we have to be resourceful, right? We have to make the food that we are able to purchase and access. We need to use all of it as much as possible. So there are lots of tricks for avoiding waste, whether that's ensuring that you just use a shopping list. That sounds obvious, but very few Americans actually do use shopping lists. But that can make sure that your meal planning and ensuring that all the food that you use goes to good use, and so that's not money down the drain. Another way to avoid money down the drain is to drink tap water. If you are among the 90% of Americans who have safe tap water, that is a far better option and 2,000 times less expensive than bottled water. Lastly, I'll mention, if you need inspiration on the cooking front, a really fantastic resource is called Good and Cheap. It's a book that is actually from my same publisher, Workman, but it's available for free by download. Over 1 million people have downloaded this, and it's all kinds of recipes for cooking well on $4 a day or less.
Sophie, one of the other aspects of that book that really stood out to me was the temperature control of your foods, which I think go hand in hand right now with what you're discussing. Why is it that you chose to incorporate that aspect of healthy eating into your research and, of course, in the book?
So if we're talking about cooking oils and the temperatures there, there's also the issue of grilling and versus other kinds of ways of preparing food. So basically, with grilling in particular, not that this is relevant right now for many people still in winter, but coming around into the summer, unfortunately, there are two kinds of chemicals that are generated from grilling, in particular, the kind of black char at that really high heat that are carcinogenic. And this is does not mean don't enjoy your barbecue. And I know that I said in the book that I risk never being invited to another barbecue again by revealing that. But it is important to take steps to reduce the amount of the carcinogenic chemicals that we are consuming when we are eating foods at those super, super high temperatures, like grilling. So I provide some ideas like, even alternating fruits and veggies as a kebab, just because they're generated more through meat. So there's lots of tips in there for kind of reducing the exposure, but it is important to be mindful of those temperatures, especially when paired with another carcinogen, which unfortunately is processed red meat. Or processed meat, like sausages and bacon. So it just means we want to be mindful, not to say we can never enjoy them, but keeping them to a minimum is going to be a good idea for long-term health. And of course, we're more focused on our short-term health now with coronavirus, but of course, we want to be doing everything we can to avoid chronic disease down the road.
Her name is Sophie Egan. The book is called How to Be a Conscious Eater. Sophie, as I do with all of my guests, I give them a moment to say whatever it is that's on their mind. The floor is 100% yours.
Thank you. A couple of quick things. One is with conscious eating, I really want to emphasize that we shouldn't let perfect be the enemy of the good. This is not about an elite approach to, 100% organic or all local all the time. It's just a mindset, an intention to care, to find out, to raise your awareness. How is the food that you're buying aligned with your values? Do you value your own health? Do you value that of others? And that's really my main point is just begin. Small steps add up. So you can check out more at sophieegan.com. That's SophieHiegan.com. And thank you so much for your time.
Excellent. And to you as well. And make sure and stay safe out there. Okay, Sophie?
You too. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. She is the author of the book, How to Be a Conscious Eater. I am simply Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. You can find me on YouTube and Patreon by looking for Drew Duncan Radio. And do not forget that I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Simply take a device to play Drew Duncan on iHeart, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Apple. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. And as always, don't you dare touch that dial.